Oh, yeah. We are back. Like the infamous movie, Groundhog Day, I feel like we're back every time I wake up. So let's see if my audio's working. Yeah, we are back. All right. It's going to be a good day when it starts out this well. Today we're going to have fun with automations. And I don't know about you. Hopefully, those of you who are on the East Coast, down south, are doing okay. I talked to a few customers this morning, clients. They seem to have weathered that amazing 140-mile-an-hour winds. Here in Chicago, we have an amazingly lovely fall day. I am very excited to be sharing with you something that is really critically important for anybody, regardless of which CRM tool you use. But if hopefully you're following along with the plan, kids. Good morning, Sharon. That you're going to find that today I'm going to use Fluent CRM with WP Fusion and the Launch Kit to show you some of the automations that you can not only do easily, but there's so many benefits of using what's in the kit. So let me do my finger this way. Hold on, I'm going to make it smaller. There we go. Benefit one. If everything else is in the kit except for your gateway and your SMTP, why would you want to use an external CRM if you didn't have to? Whether for yourself or your clients, owning and controlling it, having in the dashboard has a ton of benefits. Number two, since everyone else, thousands upon thousands of people are using this very same plugin CRM that merges together with all the other features that we've curated, why deprive yourself of the benefit of all of the templating, all of the models, all of the things that are there for you to take? You see, when you go to IKEA, you can go to IKEA in the future and anything you buy will snap together with other IKEA stuff. Same with Legos. Well, if you use the tools that are in the kit, including Fluent CRM, not only does it cost you less and your client, but also you get the benefit of all these things that you can save and reuse as TV dinners. And number three, the freedom. I mean, again, let's talk about it in terms of cost or dependency. Why would you lock yourself or your client into a gilded cage that penalizes you, taxes you for the success of building a larger audience or a list? I was having a great conversation with a few folks this week on that very same topic, which is how is it possible in 2024 that every one of the SaaS CRMs, with the exception of High Level, penalizes you, taxes you just for adding more people onto a list, when we all know that is a lie? Just like with cell phones, they used to charge you 25 cents to send a text message, or the cable company charges you more money for your greater bandwidth on a cable that's physically remaining connected with the same amount of electrons flowing through it at all times. It's a false tax. So the benefits of doing it with Fluent CRM are a multitude, but either way, you're going to take away from today what my main points are, which is why we're doing things differently. Then that gets into the bigger conversation of what the hell are you trying to sell and to whom in a world where people have almost zero attention span? I mean, they're able to tie their shoes, they're able to get out of bed, but the world is bombarding most people, in fairness, with unbelievable amounts of over here, over here, over here. And we all build resistance to it. It's the boy who cried wolf story, but in real life. If you get 500 emails a day shouting at you, screaming at you, telling you the world is coming to an end, or telling you you must do this, you become turned off to it, right? You'd have more luck, in my opinion, sending postcards today than getting most people's attention with email or with text messages, unless you do something different. So the premise of today, and folks, I'm going to have to get serious with you. The premise of today, less is more. You're going to attract far more customer attention by doing it in the same way you would be hopefully doing it today with your personal relationships. And let me frame this for you. I have some friends that I play pickleball with, some friends that I ride bikes with, some friends that I play in a band with, believe it or not. We have a rule when we communicate with each other that says, we know Spence has a laptop computer connected to iMessage. He's not allowed to type on his keyboard anything more than one of the other friends could use their thumbs on their cell phone, because otherwise they feel overwhelmed and they're thinking like, you're cheating, you're annoying me, I have too much to do to try to filter through what you said in 5 paragraphs on my text message. And so I personally have to restrain myself to sending only like one sentence text messages, even though I've got the keyboard and I can go. So just having the tools is no longer an excuse, because the recipients, as far as the customers or the audience members, are going to be turned off in literal sense. Both they're just going to stop listening, as well as they're going to be like, what an asshole you are for sending me all this stuff. I got enough anxiety to get through my day without having to read another one of your, false messages that were like sounding so important but really weren't. Now, what does Spence do? I send one email a week. You got it this morning. I send it like an hour before the event. That's how little I do it for messaging, because what is the real thing you're trying to do? You want to build a home base. Hopefully your home base is like I'm showing here. You're going to do something like a School WP, right? With your business, with your membership, your marketing automation site. And in doing so, you will have all of the tools that you need in one place, in one kit for one price, because this is the health club. This is the factory. This is the cool. I don't know if it's glitching in and out on my end, Sharon. It might be on your end. So if anybody else is listening, let me know if you're getting glitches. It's recording either way. I can't track the glitches, but if it is serious, let me know. Keep me posted. If anyone else besides Sharon is having trouble, that would help me validate. I don't know what to do about it though, because right now I'm on my strong internet connection and we don't have any weather problems today. So you're on the Gulf, Sharon. So I'm sure there might be something to do with it. The idea is, if you have essentially a home base, a factory, a cool new place for everybody to come, your messaging in these automations could be as simple as, do this, go here, this thing's waiting for you. You don't want to do the things that we used to do in the old days, which were encouraged. And this is what frustrates me about why people get confused of the looking up stuff on the internet. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it was like, oh, you've added somebody to your list. Let's send them 22 drip emails to educate them. Okay, Marcus says we're good. So thanks. Sharon, probably it's a local issue because of the Gulf. You don't want to send 20 emails. You don't. We have now the capacity for you to track and measure the person's journey when they come to your site, to the new factory, to the new warehouse, and do stuff in there. And that's the cool thing, because with that capability, I'm going to sneeze. Maybe I'm not. Excuse me. With that capability, we get the best of both worlds. We send something that's very short, very simple, tells people, hey, something's going on at the clubhouse. Come on by. And if they come on by, we can track them. We don't need to blast everybody, with the exception of like today. I mean, I do one live office hours a week, so I kind of let everybody know 5 minutes beforehand. This is what I'm talking about. Surprise, show up, don't show up, watch the video. Who cares? It really has no benefit to me whether somebody is watching this live or they watch the replay, unless like today, Marcus or Sharon, whoever else is watching, if they want to ask live questions. All right, so let's dive in, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the WP Launch Kit. Let me get this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to continue using as a model this School WP that I was working on. We've had some updates since last week as well, which is really interesting in general. I'll weave those into today's automations and what we're going to do. So the 5 most powerful things are, and it depends a little bit on what you're offering, but number 1 is that everybody needs to be registered and logged into your site. So in the past, and there is one exception to this, but in the past, people have used external CRMs and they've used external sales tools. And as a result, they have not necessarily registered and logged people into their WordPress site. But with the marketing automation we do in this modern way, we absolutely 100%, rule number 1 is an automation to welcome people in a special way of what they're supposed to do next when they come to your site beyond the first meeting. Okay, so there is room at the very top where we don't necessarily have to do a lot of marketing automation, but we're only going to add people to the CRM. That is for somebody who is a cold lead. Think of it in the real world. I just met somebody out in the wild. I went to a Starbucks, was waiting in line. I saw somebody with, I don't know, WordPress sticker on their laptop. Excuse me, my voice is gone. One second. And in doing so, I struck up a conversation. Maybe that person and I want to have another conversation. That's comparable to a cold lead. So I'm like, give me your phone number or give me your email. I have no idea whether we're going to get along, whether we have anything interesting. I just met you, but I have enough interest in you. I'm willing to ask for, or you're willing to give me your email. That is a cold lead. That is the one exception to where we don't want to register them and log them into WordPress, because we don't know whether enough is going to come from that first meeting to bother yet getting them in. But for everyone else, maybe I struck up a conversation and we found out that we've done stuff together. We definitely are going to hang out. Then they're a prospect. And if they give me more information, maybe they buy me a coffee, boom, they've spent money. Now they're a customer. For warm prospects and customers, we absolutely need them registered and logged in. So let's talk about the automations and how those pan out. So if we were going to add somebody, first of all, just for free to our CRM, let's go back in this school setup and we're going to go in the back end. We're going to use a tag and we're going to use some kind of a trigger, right? So something has to be the reason why it is that they came back into, why they got registered into our CRM. And for this, let's just go into Fluent. I may have to scale this down a little bit because it feels, yeah, it feels like I might, let's get you more stuff. Okay. And let me scale my window a little bit just so I can actually read what I'm doing while it still fills the window. Okay. If that's clear, let me know. If it's not clear, let me know. I've really scaled that down a little bit too much. That's better. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Fluent CRM and let's make sure that we have a tag. Do you need to use a tag when people are added to the CRM? Absolutely not, because the fact that they're added to your list and we know when they're added to the list is by itself declaratory. But adding a tag is just a consistent way of making sure that we have something that can be used independently to segment people. Like a tag is a universal metaphor no matter what stage somebody is in their journey. So in the future, maybe instead of digging around for like, when did you join and when did you do this, I can just literally segment people based on, do you have a tag or not? Okay. And let me also, I'm going to refresh this page. This one I just updated, so I may need to just clear the cache, but let's just say, hold on. I'm just clearing the cache. So, all right. So in these tags, what I like to be is prescriptive and also semantical. This is a tag that says at least two things. What is it they're doing and what are they doing it with, or to? So for example, subscribed to community, purchased product, registered with blankety blank form. So in this case, I could just make a tag that is more descriptive of how they onboarded, right? And this may be useful even if they're just in the CRM to know where they came from. So for what I do, I have maybe 6 or 7 different websites. I actually say something like onboarded WP Launchify. Here I'll say onboarded school WP. Or if I know that I'm only working with one site in this case, I can just be more specific as to where or how. So onboarded school WP homepage. Okay. And this is onboarded using free form homepage of school WP. And this may be useful because let's say I have an offer or something else and I'm trying to get people in and I'm using a special onboarding form. No big deal. So the way we do this is typically just to use a free registration form, which could come from Fluent Forms. We can also do this with a free product in WooCommerce, but I'll show you that separately. So let's just go to Fluent Forms and we can create a new form or use one of the ones that's here. It makes no difference. What we're going to do is add the tags so that we can differentiate and create an automation, right? So you can see that I have a couple ones: subscription, user registration, and login. For this one, we don't want them to be logged in because, again, we don't know if we're going to hang out. We can choose an existing template, which is also a nice benefit of Fluent CRM, because as I said, all this stuff is standard. Once you make it for yourself or one client, bam, you own it as an agency for all your clients. You can just use this everywhere, right? So one of the things is if we scroll down here and we just look at marketing, there's, all kinds of cool things you can do. In this case, a basic form is good enough. Honestly, I don't think that we really need much more than just this one. Like subscribe to our newsletter. And this may have options set up that we change, but we want at least the email and maybe the first name and last name. I like the first name and last name uh, because this gives me the way to be conversational. Hey, Spence. Hey, Sharon, instead of just addressing you by the email. Now, I'm not going to do the formatting here. What I want to show you is whichever way you customize this, we want to go to settings and integrations, and we want to create a feed essentially that will do things after the person submits the form. So number one is we can either leave them on the page and say thanks, or we can give them something of value. Now, typically when you're getting somebody to sign up for free, that's going to be a lead magnet. You're going to send them to a page or to a custom URL to give them a free video or whatever you may want to do. So in this case, let's just make this up because it's not important. I'm going to send them to WP Launch Kit. launchkit.com/live. That's the location of this event. Okay. I can pass along if I needed to variables about their first name, last name, email, which could help, like I do for Calendly, to fill in the fields automatically. But in this case, that's number one, what it's going to do. I could double opt in the people. I'm not going to bother with that here. What I really want to do is I want to go to configure integrations, and I want to do a feed to make sure that the person gets into the CRM, right? So I can add one here, which is just the Fluent CRM integration. I'm not necessarily registering and logging them in as a user. I did that in another video. I'm just adding them to the CRM. And here, I'm going to use the main list, and I'm going to map the email, and I'm going to map, of course, the first name and the last names. And it's really easy, again, when you're using Fluent CRM. There's no cocking around with going to another interface. Once you know this interface, bam, it's all consistent across this whole platform. And for the full name, I can just use name, which is awesome. It puts them both in there. Here's the magic trick. Contact tags, right? I want to add onboarded school homepage. Okay. Now, there's other things I can do here I don't need to worry about. But look, I can remove contact tags. I can skip them if they're in the CRM. Don't need to because they're going to be just synchronized. But there's lots of cool things I can do. I can even force subscribe them. One of my clients was asking me about this if she's listening, Shariah. This is how we can force somebody back in if they had previously unsubscribed. Super simple. All right, so this feed is enabled. And now what I love about this, you've seen me do this before. I can do this as an independent landing page, or I can do it as an embeddable on the front page. So if I do it as an independent landing page, which is super cool, I can customize this and it lives on its own with just a link, right? I love this because now this link can be used anywhere, but you'll notice that I can also put it on the home page. So just to, make this super complete, let's add to the home page. And I want to leave enough time to do the automations, but I want to just show you how the basics of creating a feed that adds a tag that triggers an automation works. Okay. So here on the home page, let's actually disable the header and the footer because that was kind of wild. And let's use the Cadence Builder. I've got a row in here already that's full height. So what I'm going to do is just add it below the image and add after. And I'm just going to say Fluent Forms. Hello. How easy is that, right? And unlike Gravity Forms or some of the other forms programs, this is formatted properly to match up the theme. I am blown away how ridiculous it is with Gravity Forms, even version 3.0, that it's fighting against all of the formatting or that I have to use old-fashioned CSS. So here, this is really simple. I'm going to use the newsletter form number 5 that I should have renamed, but I didn't. All right, let's take a look at it. And then this is going to form the basis for triggering our automation. So again, I would probably style this a little differently. One of the ways you could style this would be, let's say for your image, you could just go to that block and say structure settings, max. Let's do it inside the row actually. Structure setting, instead of inherent max width, I could force this to be just narrower. That might look a little better. I'm not going to do style stuff today, but I just want to show you, you want to make it, not so wide. if you have a choice. You know, that might look a little better. All right, now let's just say I put somebody in here. So to do that, I'm going to save us the trouble, and I'm going to open this incognito, and I'm just going to add a new person. I'll do this without bothering to switch screens so that, you know, I can just save us 2 seconds to do it. I'm just going to add in Tom Jones or something. So Tom Jones, tom@jones.com. Tom will, of course, be added in, given a tag, and he will be taken to wherever we set up. Remember, what we did is we set up inside of here with the form. Confirmation settings, we would take them to a custom URL, right? So let me save this time, wplaunchkit.com/live. Save the settings, ta-da, right? All right, so now let's look inside of CRM and see if we got Tom in there. And then we're going to talk about the automation, which is, what am I going to want to send Tom besides the newsletter or besides take him to the page to watch the video? I want to follow up to say, Tom, it was great to meet you. Would you like to hook up again? That's it. So the promise was, I met this person at a coffee shop. I want to add them for free to the CRM. I want to keep it super lightweight. So I want to give them exactly what I promised when they gave me their email, which was, look, get access to this free office hours video. But then I want to, like, maybe a day later or something, say, hey, it was nice to meet you, Tom. Would you like to do more? Maybe have a free call with me to become a customer, or let me learn more about you. So if we go into Fluent CRM, let's go into CRM. Let's go to context and see if Tom is in there, first of all. And I just love working inside this unified dashboard. It's so awesome. There is Tom. And of course, it worked. He was added to the main list, and he was also given the tag of onboarded from the school homepage. So let's do the automation. Hey, after a day, let's find out whether Tom liked what he, saw. Now, by the way, it's worth mentioning, if I wanted to, I could actually validate whether Tom showed up at that particular page or did this thing. So I can not only see if he got the emails and blah, 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 but I can also measure, if I wanted, whether he has ever visited that page. How would I do that? Before I do this automation, let me just show you. If I, let's say, had this, let's add a new page that's called video page, or I don't know, let's call it lead magnet. Okay. I can track and give a tag if somebody shows up there. Super simple. And that way I would actually be able to validate, hey, Tom, did you go here or did you not? I can know in advance. So lead magnet, and let's not make this complicated. Let's just say, for example, I put on this page, I'll put in just a row, and I'll again style it, inherent max width, and then I'll put in the YouTube video, because we know what I'm going to put there. I'm going to put in this video from today. And it's just simple as that. It's going to embed. And okay, now here's how I track if somebody showed up. I go to page, and with WP Fusion enabled, I say, I don't necessarily want to do this all the time. But if I'm going to register and log somebody in as part of this process, then I would restrict this. Okay. This would restrict access to this stuff. I don't necessarily want to do that. I want to instead only use this option, apply tags on view. And in this case, I would give them a tag that is prescriptive, like we talked about. Let's actually go back over here and go and add a tag. Let's call it viewed lead magnet. And I can actually, with WP Fusion, go more than just they landed on the page. I could actually track to see how much they viewed of certain YouTube videos, Vimeo, Wistia, and so forth. But I think it's enough just to go and track that they actually clicked and landed at the page. So if we go over here to Fluent CRM tags, let's add a new tag, which is called viewed landing page or viewed lead magnet. And you're going to be more specific, obviously, if you're running a real business, but we'll say, remember, action first, viewed lead magnet video. Okay. Keep it under 3 words if you can. And it's very easy for somebody on your team or you to come back and go, oh, that's what that video does. It's the viewed the lead magnet video. Okay, so now I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to publish this, but I'm going to refresh the page so I can add the tag to know that Tom or whomever actually viewed the lead magnet video, right? So when I refresh the page, I'll be able to choose this from the drop down. By the way, there have been many people who have asked me, what's the difference between just using Fluent CRM directly with the Launch Kit and so forth versus using it with WP Fusion? This is a great example. You can't do this with Fluent CRM. You have to have WP Fusion, which is totally worth it because it's in the kit and it does so many other things, right? So one of the things I have to do here, which is you've seen me do before, I have to refresh the tags. No big deal. I just need to go to the admin bar and click the little button that says update tags, right? So WP Fusion refresh tags. Okay, and that should be enough to do that. And the bottom line is this is going to give us what we need. I know I'm a little slow on the first one. The other ones go a little faster. This is just like how we're getting people into this whole system of viewing stuff, right? So viewed lead magnet video. So now I've got a delivery vehicle of a page that will apply a tag to somebody like Tom. I'm not going to go through like doing all of these live. I'm going to focus on the triggers and the actions from here on out. But let's just go to Tom and manually update him as if he had gone through the process and actually viewed it, because then we can use that for demonstrative purposes. So let's go to Tom's contact profile here. It's not unusual to have a new tag applied. So viewed lead magnet video. Now I know everything that Tom has been doing, and I can use that for creating an automation. In Fluent CRM or your CRM of choice, you go into automations, and this is how we use the tags to both trigger as well as to do an action afterwards. There are other terms I'll mix in here that vary depending on which CRM you're using, like benchmarks versus goals and conditionals, but like, let's just speak Fluent. So here what I've got is the ability to create a new automation. And I'm going to do this one from scratch. The first thing we need is a trigger. Now there's lots of things we could use to trigger. Did they buy something? Did they submit a form? Did they do something, click something, jump up and down? But in this case, I'm going to use got the tag of the form, right? From the home page. So we're going to say add, let's call what we're going to do follow up after joining from home page. Cold lead. You can say whatever makes it easier for you to understand. And here, again, I could use lots of different things, including if they submitted the form. Here, I'm going to just say tag applied. And the tag I'm going to use is the one we just added for the feed, right? Which is onboarded school homepage. Now, I can start this as many times as I want, which could be useful because remember I said to you that there are times somebody may unsubscribe, then they kind of fall back in love with you and come back. You might as well run them through the options you've given, such as reforce them into subscribe mode if they go through this. Okay, so I'm going to say yes to that. And that would be a choice whether you want them to get the latest version of what you do after people join. If you don't, then you just say don't restart it because they've already seen that email once. Now, you might put in a pause. This is a wait. And depending on how you've set up your server, most of the time we end up putting this on the server instead of running it from inside of WordPress because it's more reliable. If you have anything that's like less than a few minutes, this runs on what's called cron jobs inside of WordPress, and you want to probably make sure you've got that set up appropriately with one extra step. But if it's just like another day, it's fine. So let's say we waited a day because we just met him at Starbucks yesterday, and we're going to say, hey, how'd you like that video, right? So wait one day. And I don't know why it's having a kvetch here, but let's see. Refresh my page. Could be I'm having, one of the things I didn't think about, although this server is located in Phoenix, is that there was, weather issues all over up and down the coast and stuff. So I'm wondering if there's any other internet stuff. I am having no trouble otherwise here, but this connection for this site seems to be unusual today. Let's see if I have any luck. Let's see if I'm browsing otherwise. Yeah, the site is having a little bit of a unusual behavior. But there was a hurricane that came inland, so let's hang in there and see what happens. I'm hoping for the best. Let me check on my other thing. Oh, yep, there we go. That's a bad sign of a larger problem beyond can't get it can't catch a break during office hours, right? I'm going to move to another backup if necessary, but let me see if it comes back up. Okay, might have just been a temporary hiccup. So let's try that again. Wait one day. Oh, you hurricanes. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to actually add an email, this custom email. So in this case, I can have a template that I use. But if I just go from send an email, I can create a custom email one time, right? So how did you like the office hours? Now, the reason this is important is because, like, if you were, again, back to my friends, if you just met somebody at the coffee shop and you thought you had something in common, you said, oh, check out this thing I'm doing. You don't want to write a letter to them. You want to be like, hey, it's Spence. Did you like that? That's what people respond to today, right? Think of yourself. If somebody sends you one sentence, one question, it's easy to say an answer to it. If they send you a, oh my God, War and Peace, too much. Here's some tricks for how to make this super colloquial. Click on these brackets here and take their first name. And what I like to do is make it look like a normal email. So what I do, first of all, is see we have box template. We have regular template plain left. Use this one. This looks like ordinary emails. Right. Matt may have a lot of things going on, but he's got nothing on me. So that I do chuckle, but I am bulletproof to all that drama. Thank God. So I say something, hi, and then I paste in that thing I just copied. Hi, contact first name. And you've seen this from me. It's Spence. Did you like the video? Let me know. Spence. Now, it's possible that you could just get right to the point here and say, do you want to have a free call? I don't think there's any benefit of doing 2 emails, but you could see if they respond to this and they said, it sucked, before offering them a call. If you're confident they liked it, then I would just change this, want to have a call? And in that, just make this into a link. Now you can make a custom link with Fluent CRM that could be tracked. Not necessary if you're using something already to collect them at the place of the call. So in this case, if I do wplaunchify.com/call, I will show you that already is another Fluent CRM form, which is already going to track whether they come into it, right? So if I actually clicked on that link, you see I'm using a form as the catcher's mitt. I don't have to track whether they clicked it or did it because I'll know it when they get there. So this is an alternative way of doing a really short and sweet email. One day after, you can send a test email if you want with this. If you save it, you can make this into a template. I would avoid doing anything on here that makes it look like anything other than exactly what it is, which is just a personal email. That way people are not going to see your logos and your colors and your branding and sales stuff. Now, remember I told you about that conditional about whether you want to send this or that. You could put a conditional or a goal in here based upon what they've done. Now, a condition is a fork in the road. You can go either way, yes or no. And the condition here would be, did they see that video? Did they land on that page? So we'd go over here and we'd say contact segment tags. And remember, we created includes that tag of viewed lead magnet. So the question we're asking, yes or no, have you watched the video? Have you at least gotten to the page? And I have a feeling, there we go. Okay. I thought the server's going to go now. If the answer is no, what we can do is we can duplicate the same thing, but we move this up, right? So instead of having this down here, what we can do is, you know what I've never tried to do? I don't think I can actually drag it. No, I cannot. But I think I can clone it. I've never tried this, so let me see. Let's see if I can move it up with my arrows. It moves only vertically. It won't go in here. So I don't know if there's a trick here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete it. I'm just gonna put in a, well, I'm gonna do things. First of all, let's put our weight back where it belongs. And then I'm gonna check the condition. The condition we've got, now I'm gonna add the action. This if they said no, and this if they said yes. And I won't write out the whole email. Didn't have time for the video. And this would be like, hey, Bob, hey, would you like to see that video? And the other one would be the reciprocal. Thanks, Sharon. And this is the reciprocal because this would be, yes, they saw the video. So now you can be specific with them and say, did you like the video? Want a call? So you'll notice the takeaway from all of this is I'm able to create a basic automation that is not annoying, that's used for when I met somebody who's a cold lead, and yet I can save this as a template, right? So this thing in and of itself with the triggers can have the trigger change just by clicking at the cogwheel. So if I save this as a template, I can reuse this again and again and again and again and again. And I can just change the variations on it for whatever I want to use. Notice I can also export this. And if I export it, means I can create a bunch of automations, build them up, document them, share them with my audience, which means that inside of this site that I own and control, I have the way to essentially make IKEA furniture add-ons that I can resell to my clients, or like using Canva. I can make templates for Canva on Etsy that I sell, because I'm using the same set of tools that my clients will be using. Now let's expand this to be the registered and logged in one. The automation is essentially the same. We're just using a different trigger. So in the case of whether they were registered and logged in through a free form or they were doing it through e-commerce, the same idea is true, except in this case, I would reference the thing that they bought or reference the thing that they had been doing inside of the site. So you can use the same basic concept. And all I want to share with you is you can notice they even have some pre-built ones, which is cool. Let's see, post-purchase upsell, product recommendation, welcome email series, new user welcome. You could pick any of these. I mean, let's do this. Let's do product recommend. Let's do this. Let's do import this post-purchase upsell. Here's a situation where somebody gets into your site because let's say they bought your sample or you did an hour of something. You can follow up with them. Now, because we know specifically as the trigger what it is that they bought. The only difference is rather than it being a tag, here we're saying which specific product did they buy. Like maybe they bought the community membership that we talked about last week. Or you can even do it by full categories, like any product inside of this category. And notice you can set this up where it's on any purchase, only the first time, or from the second purchase on, which again allows you lots of flexibility along with the restarting it to figure out specifically who this applies to. All right. So takeaway number one, done. Short and sweet. Once you first engage somebody to get them in your site, whether it's for free onto the CRM and just met them, or whether it's a little warmer or they've fully given you a credit card through a purchase, in which case you're going to probably take some other actions that are going to essentially upsell them or offer them something else, like a call or another product. Let's do number two, education on what the hell they're supposed to be doing. Now, this is where I really think things are different in the world we live in. I have shared with you that with AI, everything is possible. So if you're using it properly, you shouldn't be using it to replace you, but like, let's talk about recipes. If you have a client and you need to share basic things with them, and they're already members of your health club, if you will, because you've given them registration and login for free or paid to get to your site, make the information you give them not in the email. No more educating people in email. Please stop. It would be literally like trying to have college courses on a busy subway in New York City at noon or rush hour. It's completely impossible for people to concentrate on things you give them in email. Instead, short and sweet. Here's a recipe. Go to this page. Here's a lesson in a course. Go to this page and you can see it for free. You can log in. So the takeaway two is education of people. You could call it indoctrination if you want, but like education or nurturing, as we used to call it in the days when email was like a new thing, should not happen anymore. That channel is too busy. Instead, let's send them to a page. So let's say this was where I had created some content either for free or the person has to be logged in and use the tag that they've got to open the page. I would just say make it free stuff. Who cares? This is a sampler. Okay. I want to educate somebody. So for nurturing education, let's go over here and we're going to make a new automation. And for this, we could, again, have it triggered by a variety of things. Maybe it's like a week after they've been on the site, or maybe it's after they first registered and logged in. There's so many ways we can trigger it, right? So let's start with, what's the trigger? Send a nurturing email the modern way. Okay. Notice with the CRM, when the list is applied, when a tag's applied, when the contact is first created, that's pretty good. When a new form is submitted, we can look at what they do in the community, if they've joined the community space or enrolled in a course. We can look at the boards, like if I've dragged them along the board, even in LearnDash, like when they've started a course or completed a lesson. WooCommerce, you know, buy something, ordered something, waiting on something, and even WordPress triggers. So for this one, I'm going to choose the one when a new contact is created, because that seems to me to be a good opportunity to be like, hey, check this out. This is a sampler of what you could be doing here. And all we're going to do for this is just the same concept. We're going to say starting nurturing email. Now, run this even if contact is not in subscribe status. Same thing. If you've got people who might have been on the list that unsubscribed and you still want them to get this, then you have to engage this. This will force it through. And you also have to decide whether this is something you want to show people more than once. I don't think so, because once they've seen it once, I mean, they don't need to see this a second time. It's nurturing. It's not like evergreen that it updates and it's new. Okay, so with this, now I would just do the same concept. I would probably just go ahead and send them an email. Okay, and in this case, the email is going to be like essentially, you know, hi, check out this awesome recipe for how to create a membership site with LaunchKit. By the way, you can grab a 30-day no-risk trial of LaunchKit here, etc. Now, we could just add the links, of course. I don't need to fill these fully out because you get the gist. It's your products. But this would be like I go to my sales page, either for LaunchKit or the direct to checkout link using WP Fusion Launchflows WooCommerce. In this case, I'll just say wplaunchify.com/pricing or hashtag pricing. And here, that was the link for the membership site. So I copied that and I'm putting that into here. Check out this awesome recipe. And I might bold it because that makes it kind of like stand out a little. Maybe not italic, but bold. Cheers. Notice I'm still going to keep it sort of like looking like a plain Jane email, so it gets through the radar. Here's the first name. Hi. First name. It's Spence again. Okay. So what happens here? Thanks for joining. Here, I've written an email that acknowledges that it was triggered by them first joining my list. They're not necessarily registered and logged in. I'm giving them a free sample of a public thing. And I'm also doing just a very subtle, like, oh, by the way, you can check out my pricing. This is the kind of stuff you would send to a friend, right? This is not salesy. Oh, here. Thanks for joining. Check out this recipe. Okay. So this is a very low-key, light update. It's enough to get somebody's attention. By the way, if you want, you can also end these. I've not found this is like super necessary, but just put end the funnel here, because this is a one and done. There's no chance that somebody's gonna be sitting around waiting for a goal to happen and so on and so forth. All right. So number 2 is like a light follow-up from anything that somebody does, quite frankly. It could be essentially just by joining your list, but you could also have it triggered, as I mentioned, from some other condition that happens. Like they joined the list and they did something like already saw the lead magnet. Now, how would you do that? You would add a goal in here. So click this. Third thing is goals and conditions. A goal is it has to happen for somebody to get into that funnel or for somebody to proceed in the funnel versus what I showed you a minute ago with a condition. You have a yes or no. Nobody stops. They keep going. It's just turn left, turn right. A goal, also known as a benchmark, if you happen to use other CRMs, and I don't agree with that term. A goal is exactly what you think. You have to do it in order for you to go forward. So in this case, let's use the tag applied as a goal. And guess which tag we're going to use? It's going to be viewed lead magnet video. Okay. Must have seen lead magnet video to proceed. So by being like really specific, and by the way, I want to show you contact added in any of all these tags. There's only one of them. Benchmark, that damn word, the goal is this is either optional or essential. I'm going to say it has to be optional if I don't want them to have to be stuck here waiting for it. I want it to be essential if I want them to be like, slow down until you watch that damn video. You cannot get this email. Okay. And then finally, you can have somebody enter into this because let's say, for example, I want to shoot somebody in from another automation. I want to be able to have like an open path that somebody can come into this for other purposes. Like maybe something else I do tracks whether they watch the lead magnet video. And as such, I don't need to repeat all the things that happen after that. I can just take them from where they were at to this and finish up with one sequence. It's just a way to organize the socks in your sock drawers, if you will. All right. So I've covered basic onboarding. I've covered a follow-up, a light follow-up if somebody joins your list. I've covered goals and conditions. Let's talk about that very popular abandoned cart. Abandoned cart happens because somebody got busy, like their dog took their microphone and they had to chase after it while they were about to check out for your product, or they were doing something really important on your website and the kid's principal's called from the school. So for this, we need two things. First of all, we're going to use the abandoned cart feature. We could use actually either one. There's an abandoned cart feature inside of Fluent CRM. If we go to settings, I like WP Fusion for this. You can choose whichever one you want. But if you go to advanced, here it is, abandoned cart. Abandoned cart from Fluent CRM is pretty okay. I don't have any problem with that. If you enable the tracking, essentially what you got is a time frame within which somebody had something in the cart but didn't check out. And we know their email, so we can keep a cookie, a transient of what was in the cart, and then send them a reminder if some conditions are met. So in the Fluent CRM version, it's 30 minutes. Okay. The cart will be marked as you can maybe recover this. And this is the after time for lost. So mark the cart as lost if the order is not made within 10 days. So this is like when we set the cookie and put the person in the system is like, maybe they want to come back. And this is the, clearly they're never coming back 10 days. I don't think you can choose hours. So it's minutes and days. Cool off period is you can give somebody a break. So you have to set a series of rules that are global, but if you know somebody's behavior is kind of like, hey, I just got here, I just bought a bunch of stuff, we don't want to hassle them too much. You can put a cool off period of a number of days to exclude customers from tracking after they've placed an order. And then this is also the status for new contacts. So if somebody comes in and they're in the abandoned cart mode, but they have not finished doing a form or buying a product and checking out all the way, you can set them as transactional instead of as just subscribed, which is kind of just a new status. It's you're kind of on the way to being a subscriber to the CRM. All right. As far as the marking the cart, you can decide at what point the order status changes, right? So if you want to say it's recovered when it's processing or completed, that's cool. When we do WP Fusion, we don't do processing. Okay. We only do it when it's paid status. So notice here, what's interesting, you must select Woo define paid statuses to mark the cart as recovered. So let's save this. I don't think I have enough time today with the 9 minutes. If you decide to stay with processing, fine. If not, just follow the instructions, which is you're going to set up the Woo paid statuses to mark the card as recovered. Um, I don't really know if I like this as much as the way that the WP Fusion does it. So I'm going to show you that. Now, next is you need to have a tag, at least, to let somebody know that it's abandoned, right? So we're going to just call it abandoned cart. This will give somebody, whether they're set as a subscriber or a transactional status, they'll get a tag that we can use to trigger automations that says they've got something that they probably could have wanted to buy or should have bought, but they didn't finish it. So let's remind them. If we care, we can give them a tag for card is lost, right? This is the wrong, by the way, this is the wrong list. I should have done it over here. Sorry. This is tag of abandoned cart. Let me explain this. We are not going to do a different list. We're going to use the main list only. So what I should have set up, sorry, I got ahead of myself. The tag of abandoned cart, but the person is still on the one list. We only want one list. We don't want separate lists based upon their segmentation. If you care, you can track whether somebody in the past has lost by adding a tag that they lost a cart. I can't think of any good reason to do that. But for abandoned cart, there's a good reason. So let's say somebody goes through the process, they start checking out, they don't get it. We got an abandoned cart. What are we going to do about it? Well, in this case, you can use the, by the way, GDPR if you're in Europe. I don't know why you'd want to do that in America. It basically screams out like, please do not bother. But let's go to the automations. And it's the same idea here. We're going to create a new automation that's an abandoned cart. And what we can do with that is fill in the information, which is the magic link for how they do stuff. And actually, before I do that, let me show you the settings if we do WP Fusion. So if we go to our plugins, let's turn on the WP Fusion abandoned cart. By the way, I don't think you should use them both at the same time. So this is not like use them both. This is either or, but I'm going to turn on WP Fusions just so you can see the difference. I like to use Fluent CRM as a pure CRM. It has some amazing features, but I like how using WP Fusion for all the actions connecting things is a more consistent methodology. So if I go here under settings, WP Fusion, we'll see very similar but slightly different setup. So integrations, I believe it's in. Notice what I was referring to before. See where it says like WooCommerce order statuses. We can, with WP Fusion, we can set like order statuses and stuff. I don't like to use pending payment because there's so many weird things that can happen with pending payment. I like it to be that they're done and that's it. Or when they add it to the cart. So if we go to add-ons, abandoned cart recovery, we can choose, first of all, which thing to track. We're going to check the checkout page, but we could do the cart or a custom page like it mentions. If you're using lunch flows, you might want to do that on whatever page somebody's on. Maybe it's a custom checkout with lunch flows. We want to apply a tag, and in this case, see, it doesn't show up here, so let's refresh the available tags because we created one called abandoned cart. Okay, and let's refresh so it shows up. When you're using WP Fusion, what's nice is you can just synchronize it and get the tags, but just maybe make the tags in advance, save yourself the trouble. Same idea. How long to delay, either 0 minutes or whatever. I like this one, trigger on add to cart. I like this because then they're in the abandoned cart thing like the second they put a product in there. And if they buy it, who cares? Progressive updates. This also updates them in the CRM whenever the checkout is edited. I like this. This is really super simple. And by the way, you can redirect, to here. Now, you can learn about what you can do with what you send to somebody, but essentially what you're going to end up sending them is a custom link that will give them the necessary link to go back to their abandoned cart. So because I'm sort of short on that time, let me just show you what I mean. With WP Fusion, There's the recovery URL, right? So in this particular case, this is going to be something that's going to come from the CRM. It's mapped to a field. So in order to map it to a field, we want to go over here, contact fields, and we will see. I think we've already got it. Hold on a second. WP Fusion abandoned cart, right? So here's recovery URL. We will make a Fluent CRM abandoned cart URL or recovery URL. And to do that, we just go in the CRM and we just add it. So we go here to settings. Let's go to contacts. And we're just going to add a custom field called recovery URL. And to do that, we go contact. Oh, they changed the interface a little bit. So I got to go to settings and we're going to go to custom contact fields. And let's just add a tag, recovery URL. Single line text because we don't care. It's just holding a value. It doesn't have to be a URL. Okay. We can put in a custom field group if we want. Now that we've got that and we go back to WP Fusion, when we refresh, we'll be able to choose that as the thing to map the WP Fusion recovery URL to Fluent CRM. I know I'm going fast, but I'm trying to squeeze in the last one. I got one more to do, and I don't want to go much over the hour because I have another call. But here in the recovery URL, this should now be refreshed. There's the mapping field to Fluent CRM. So now what's going to happen is, let's just say we've got an abandoned cart situation. Somebody gets the tag. It's going to trigger the automation, and we're going to want to put in the recovery URL that's a custom field value. So let's do this. We go back over to our automations where I started a moment ago, and we'll call this recovery of abandoned cart. And in this case, again, we can trigger it on the tag applied. I assume you followed me when I said don't use both this and Fluent CRM because you don't want two things being triggered. But there's obviously things that are available, like check out this, cart abandon. That's already like a trigger. So if you're using my first method, use cart abandon. If you're using the tag method, use this method. Or use this for both. Because as I mentioned, I like using tags as much as possible because that's just a consistent thing that applies no matter what. And notice I can run this regardless of status, and I can also run this multiple times because it's possible that it would be necessary. So once they've got the tag of abandoned cart, unless that tag is removed by them checking out, I want to just maybe I could wait a day or whatever amount of time. Let's say wait 1 day. And then I'm going to send them an email like, hey, do you still want that stuff? And I'm going to do the same thing we did before. Send a custom email. Still want your stuff? Here's where I use the tools in Fluent CRM's email writer, which I love. Again, let's do it together. We're going to first of all start with, hey, and then first name. Hey, state your name. It's Spence. You left some goodies in the cart. Still want them? And I could use a button if I want here. So now I can get elegant. Click here. And then I can do the rest of the stuff, right? So add after. Cheers, Spence. Now, with the link, I need to put a value in. Thankfully, with Fluent CRM, look how easy this is. I've got all this custom stuff in here for the contact, including custom field values, right? So I should have one of these is my recovery URL. I may have to synchronize this, but we'll see. Hold on. I'm going to synchronize it just because I think I didn't do so, and I want to make sure. I'll put a value in there as well, just because it has been my experience that occasionally you need to have at least one contact with the value for it to show up on the automation tool. So let's just give Tom Jones abandoned cart, shall we? Let's see if it shows up. So here's the recovery URL, and this is going to be obviously put in automatically because it's going to be done by the WP Fusion or by Fluent, but wplaunchify.com, etc. All right. Obviously, that's not the legitimate thing. And we go back over here to the funnel. Let's refresh this real quick and see. Close Tom, close this, close this. All right, let's go ahead and refresh this so that we have the option of filling in that field value. And what I want to do is fill it in here. So let's just get it from custom fields. There it is. Okay, so just refreshing was all I needed. So now I've got that copied and pasted. So I go to the button and I use that for the URL. Ta-da. And now I'm done. So now I've got a simple email that at the moment in this automation will be triggered if they have the abandoned cart tag. But let's put a condition in there, right? Like we said before, about whether or not they still have the tag. So the condition is yes or no, do they have the tag in order for this to happen? Or we can really make this a goal because otherwise there's no reason. But I don't think you want people sitting around there either. So the idea is if the abandoned cart tag has been applied and it triggers this thing, do they still have it? Yes or no? If it's no, just kick them out of the thing. If it's yes, let them continue. Okay. So I'd add a condition. Yes or no, do they have the tags still? So it's contact segments, tags. Question is, includes abandoned cart. Now here's one last trick, and I'm going to probably call it short on 4.5. The trick is the condition doesn't have to be both ways, or you can use a goal. So for example, if all I'm checking is one thing, like do they have the tag? I don't have another one. That's all there is yes or no. So I could just let them go passing through this, like on the way through a small town to get back on the highway, right? Yes or no, do they have the tag? Check condition if they still have abandoned cart. Okay. If the answer is no, then they obviously bought. So let's just end the funnel. Problem solved. Spencer Foreman's simpler way of doing things, because we don't have to do any more automations. We can just put this in as a yes or no question. And if they have the tag, it keeps going to the email. If they don't have the tag, it means they must have already bought and they're good to go. And so this accomplishes our final goal. Okay, the last one, I'm not going to do so much of a thing because I'm out of time and you guys have been very patient. The last one, the fifth one, is what I like to call, and I'll look at this WP Launchify one. Hold on. I like to call it my all-in-one education. If you can send one email, send one email instead of sending 5 emails. And so here what I've got is WP Launchify. Those of you who have subscribed or become my customers, you will see that I send one all-inclusive instruction sheet. And in today's world, that to me is a better way to go because it ends up giving somebody less things to be confused about. What am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be opening? It's literally like the instruction sheet in the box for your business. So I'm looking here for an example of it. Okay. So here's an example of this email. Let me see if I can open this up. I'm not sure if this will work, so forgive me if it opens up something weird. Here. So the email looks something like this. Thanks for your purchase, whatever it may be. Number 1, you've got an account with me. Number 2, you've got essentially another email coming that if you purchase these products is going to give you a key that you can use with LaunchKit. Number 3, here's how we manage support calls. Number 4, got questions? That's it. Now, why do I suggest doing this? Instead of 5 different things or 12 different versions or this or that, guess what you're doing? You're saying, it's Spence. I'm here at this number, this email. I'm at this hangout. if you need help, here's the 3 or 4 things that cover basically all the contingencies of being in a relationship with me. Match this up to what you just bought, and that way I only send you 1 email. So at the end of the day, let's review. Thank you, by the way, those of you who've hung out. The 5 magical, powerful automations I do are how to onboard somebody to my CRM or into the actual user database so that I can track their behavior and do more stuff with them. Number 2, I do a gentle reminder of something after they've joined the list to say, hey, would you like to hang out more? Or if I want, I can conditionally check to see if they've done something and say, what did you think about that? Number 3 is I can do upsells. Like, let's say I do get their credit card and they give me a little cha-ching. I can just say, hey, well, while you're there, why don't you add this thing into your shopping cart? And then 4th, I can do abandoned carts, whether I use it with the WP Fusion directly or with Fluent CRM. I like them both, but I use WP Fusion's logic. And then you can also add in goals or conditions, right? Like we talked about. Did they actually get rid of that abandoned cart tag before I sent this email? And then finally, an all-in-one, this is like about our relationship letter. Like, dear Spence, this is what's going on. And that way I don't have to send them so many things. So in the end, they get like 1 thing from me when they join my CRM. They get another thing after the CRM. If they join as a user, whether buying or something, they'll get a registration confirmation with like a reset password link. If they bought something, they'll get a receipt. And if they join up with me that day, I'll give them an all-inclusive, like, this is how it works thing. Over 20 years and 55, almost 58,000 clients now, this has proven to be a bulletproof system in a world of low attention span, as well as Gen Xers like myself who are like, listen, I'm on my cell phone. Don't send me a 4-paragraph message. I can only respond with my thumbs. Don't bug me. Nobody needs more because they always know how to reach you at your brand, which is your main website. And these tools are bulletproof for going forward in a world of infinite distractions and glasses and headsets. God knows what people are going to be doing. So hopefully you'll implement them as well. I hope that you'll join me at WP Launchify with the launch kit. We are really killing it now. With all the drama in WordPress, we are a safe haven, an island of tranquility and common sense. And all of the updates, all of the plugins, everything is working brilliantly along with the community features. So if you haven't done so, have a free call with me at wplaunchify.com/call. Join Launch Kit, either in the full form or the software only. Get on board. We could start building cool stuff here at the Lego store, IKEA store. I'm glad you guys stayed longer. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Fall is here. The hot tub is installed. For those of you who follow me, the inflatable hot tub is installed at the new house. I'm very excited to launch it today. See you in the next video.